This is the CBC Morning Report for today, Wednesday, July 12th. I'm Tisha Hines. Good morning. In our top story, the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners is warning the number of COVID-19 cases could be higher than what is reflected on the latest COVID-19 dashboard. The most recent statistics show 377 new cases from 1,248 tests conducted over a 2-week period. 6 people also died during that time. BAMP President Dr. Linda Williams is reinforcing the need for people to recognize COVID-19 has not left us, and that is being reflected in the numbers, even if they're lower than expected.
We see the dashboard with a greater number of cases per test, which is the positivity ratio of about 30%. And we know that the actual numbers are likely to be much higher than this because most people would be relying on rapid testing at home at this point in time to determine their COVID status. We're calling for a greater availability of rapid tests because there's a limited amount of public testing available at this point in time. It is important to know your COVID status so that you are not in a situation where you can pass it on to others, particularly those who are vulnerable.
Now, while those people traditionally considered vulnerable include people with comorbidities, the elderly, obese people, and those with asthma, Dr. Williams is also warning some people who have been vaccinated against COVID-19.
If you had immunization some time ago, even if you had 2 shots and you had no further boosters, then you also are vulnerable to contracting COVID-19, and that's because we would not have expected the COVID-19 vaccine to have a duration of effect that would last as long as this. Therefore, in this season, be safe, be your brother's keeper. If you come from a household where lots of people may be affected, isolate yourself if you find out that you have COVID-19. Do not spread it, hand sanitize, wear masks, and do what is necessary to prevent an increase in cases and an uptick during this Cropover and festive season.
Coming up on the CBC Morning Report, NATO stopped short of allowing Ukraine into their security alliance. NATO leaders say Ukraine's future is in the alliance. This came during the first day of the Vilnius summit. However, they stopped short of announcing a timeline or formal invitation into the military bloc.
Always keen to stress their unity, NATO members gathered during the second year of a war in Europe. This time those small cracks are showing which alliance leaders are working hard to overcome. Central to this meeting is the question of Ukraine's possible future membership, promised at some point, with some allies pushing for a fast-track process to begin now, while others, notably Germany and the United States, believe the time is not yet right.
We reaffirmed that Ukraine will become a member of NATO and agreed to remove the requirement for a membership action plan. This would change Ukraine's membership path from a 2-step process to a 1-step process. We also made clear that we will issue an invitation for Ukraine to join NATO when allies agree and conditions are met.
But that falls well short of Ukrainian expectations. President Volodymyr Zelensky got a hero's welcome in Vilnius, but en route he tweeted that anything less than a firm invitation now and a timetable for accession would be absurd, amounting to uncertainty, he said, that Russia would view as weakness.
This is the language of hesitation, and Putin understands only the language of force. So that's something which our allies should understand. But it is not a catastrophe. There is the word invitation. Ukraine will skip membership action plan stage.
Many, especially members of the alliance's eastern flank, would tend to agree with Ukraine, while others, including Germany and the United States, believe that with the war still on and no way of knowing what any possible peace agreement might look like, now is simply not the time to commit the whole of NATO to Ukraine's defense against future Russian aggression. There are other points of tension. Unease over the supply of cluster munitions to Ukraine by the United States. Most NATO members are signatories to a treaty banning their use, but not Ukraine, the US or Russia. And among pledges of further military support came the promise by France to follow the UK in supplying long-range missiles to Ukraine. One potential difficulty was overcome on the eve of the summit when Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan lifted his year-long objection to formerly neutral Sweden joining the alliance. 31 members will soon become 32. NATO expanding because of the war in Ukraine, even as the war exerts pressures that test its unity.
An Eastern African Bloc regional summit to consider deploying troops into Sudan to protect civilians has been rejected by the Sudanese government. This comes after nearly 3 months of violence between the army and the Parliamentary Rapid Support Forces.
The leaders of Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan and Djibouti have been meeting in Addis Ababa, where they've called for an end to the violence in Sudan. Let's cross over live to Port Sudan now. We can speak with Mohammed Val. So where does this leave the proposal of sending foreign peacekeepers into Sudan?
Well, Sami, it's very clear that Sudan has rejected that suggestion and even described it as a violation of the sovereignty or an attempt at violating the sovereignty of Sudan. Lots of things that came in the statements or in the final communique of the summit in Addis Ababa yesterday were met here by, with a very strong condemnation and indignation in Sudan. The foreign ministry's statement described all of those statements as, as unacceptable, including the saying by the Ethiopian Prime Minister that Sudan has a power vacuum now and that African countries should do something about that. So that was considered a direct violation of Sudan's sovereignty, and also the idea to impose an air embargo or to remove heavy artillery from inside Khartoum, and all of those points and all the statements made by particularly the Kenyan President and the Ethiopian President were all seen here in a bad light in Khartoum. Also the claim in the final communique that Sudan's delegation to the summit was absent from the summit. Sudan has sent a delegation, the army has sent a delegation. It was there before the summit and it was coordinating with the organizers of the summit, but their condition for attending the summit was that William Ruto, the president of Kenya, should not be the head of this quartet and should not preside over the summit because they consider William Ruto an ally of Hemeti, the head of the Rapid Support Forces. So the prospect is very negative for the outcome of this summit. Sudan is rejecting it totally. They said no foreign troops will be accepted. No foreign troops can set foot in Sudan because that will be considered as a foreign aggression on Sudan.
Well, it's time to preview now what's coming up on Morning Barbados. In the next chapter, we're featuring Ron Johnson. He's talking about tightening your shoelaces and getting your finances organized. Plus, Rashida Beckles will be here talking human resources. We're going to look at individual and organization organizational importance of learning of development. Plus, we are having an interesting day with Caribbean Home Help as we continue to look at their services and how they can help you with those who are living with dementia. Also, the Sunshine Snacks Junior Kadooment is coming up. Stacey O'Brien, who is a festival events planner with the National Cultural Foundation, she will be in to share more about that with us. Plus, we're playing The Eyes Have It, the new series, so you might have a chance to win. That's all coming up 6:30 on Morning Barbados. But next, we have more news, sports, and weather. Stay with us. The Central Bank of Barbados says to date it hasn't received any fake notes from the 2022 polymer banknotes. In a news release, the CBB says it is aware of images and videos circulating on social media over the past few weeks purporting to show counterfeit polymer Barbadian notes. While the bank will not confirm the authenticity of any banknote without first having examined it in person, some of the security features found on genuine Barbadian polymer notes, such as the transparent window, are visible in the images. The central bank says the notes appear to have come into contact with the harsh chemical that removed some of the ink. The bank confirms that to date it has received no fake notes from the new polymer bank series, but reminds the public that the notes are not impossible to counterfeit. It therefore encourages people to continue to check their money using the security features incorporated into them. These include a transparent window near the bottom of the note, an image embedded in the window that catches the light on lower denominations, the 2, 5, and 10, and changes color in higher denominations, the 20, 50, and $100 notes. The notes denotation and the denominations appearing in the patterned broken trident on the top right of the note when it is held up to the light, and a raised shape at the back of the note beneath the large denomination numeral. The shape varies depending on the denomination. The bank also encourages anyone with a note they suspect to be counterfeit to take it to a commercial bank or to the Central Bank of Barbados. Despite a recent unfortunate event at a Cropover event where there was a mass scaling of the perimeter fences by a large group of people, there's still an assurance that public liability and related insurance cover are still being provided. President of the General Insurance Association of Barbados, Randy Graham, made the comments in the aftermath of the recent invasion of the Powder event by a number of mostly young people who bombarded the venue and scaled the fences, and in a few cases caused disruption and injury. He says while the situation has prompted more scrutiny by insurance providers, he says it certainly does not mean an end to provision of cover.
What happened with the event is unfortunate, but I think it's important to realize that the insurance sector in Barbados has supported the Cropover Festival for many years and will long continue to support the festival. We saw a situation there where there was an event, and I didn't attend the event myself, but my understanding is that they had some disruption to the event from some patrons who did not pay and caused some damage, and obviously that would create some security concerns, not just for us, but it would create security concerns for patrons on a whole, right? They would have seen it and made their own estimations as to whether that was a safe environment or not. But truth be told, that event had insurance, and the event that was to follow also had an opportunity to have insurance. So it's not that the insurance was not available; it's that the insurance companies asked additional questions because of the safety of the event, which I think is reasonable. But then the insurance companies did offer cover to the event, and we will offer cover to future events as well.
Well, Mr. Graham says the measures and adjustments being taken now will help dictate the approach taken ahead of any such events in future.
What I would expect to happen is that people will start asking more security questions about these events in the future. I don't think the events will stop. I don't think that insurance will stop on the events. But I think it's reasonable for persons to now ask, I mean, what would the security be like? Where would the location be like? I think where the logistics and the areas that we are able to host these events in the future is going to become the big question. We don't have a national stadium anymore. So where exactly do we have appropriate security and appropriate walls and barriers? I mean, where can we host these type of events? So I think that's going to be a big question. Where can we host them, and how can we get the security at the event appropriate so that patrons are safe at the event?
In other festival news, some Bridgetown businesses are seeing spikes in sales as Barbadians prepare for the various events on the calendar. CBC's Rianne Phillips went to Bridgetown.
Hair, nails and eyelashes are among the top sellers as Barbadians enhance their appearance for the various Cropover events. Number One Beauty Supply has been a one-stop shop for many, as Operation Manager Charmaine Durant explains.
We've seen a rise in sales somewhat since June. I think from the end of May into June that we started to see rising sales because there are lots of activities going on. So customers, they want more hair, they want more makeup. The lashes come off a little earlier than before, so they're getting themselves ready for each and every activity they have. And this year, the activities are a lot more than we've ever had before. You will get crochet hair. That still lasts a little longer, but for certain types of our customers, they prefer the shorter styles or the bobs or something they could change according to the event they're going to. So everything is actually selling. And plus we're going into summer, so braids are selling going into the summer, and then the solo green, the yaki hair, that sells as well.
Women have also been seeking both large and small service providers for the application of makeup and eyelash extensions.
So we get customers coming daily, like they last 2-3 weeks, some people 4, but it's a constant something. So activities are not persons come to get the lashes do, but now we will do more full face makeup and drawing of the eyebrows. You have a lot more of that because of the activities that we have going on.
Makeup is the forefront because everybody gonna want to look nice for the events. So with that being said, for sure is the makeup. Mostly it's been for the fat so far. With the events coming up, we have plenty of bookings in already.
And fabrics have been in demand. Over at Abez, people have been buying materials for custom outfits, while some band leaders have opted to source materials locally.
Apart from the obvious, which is what the community bands and the smaller bands are doing, which would be the trim and the carnival decorations and the feathers and the spandex and so on to make the costumes, we're also seeing a very large market this year for 4-day mourning, where obviously it's a lot more casual, it's not as structured, but equally it's fluorescent spandex, it's hologram spandex. Anything with stretch is hugely popular this year. And the fettes, again, it's, I suppose the best way to describe it, less is more. As skimpy as the outfits could be is as good as people want it to be. So again, stretch is important.
Business is expected to increase towards the end of the month and into the first week of August as the festival climaxes. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Thank you, Rianne. Free movement for CARICOM nationals among members is the latest venture that is being embraced by police. CARICOM heads of government recently decided on free movement for all CARICOM nationals by March of next year. The move goes beyond the current CARICOM single market and economy regime of free movement of agreed categories of skilled nationals and is believed to be a positive venture. Belizean Minister of Immigration Imon Courtenay explained the decision and how it will not impact Belize's current laws surrounding migration.
CARICOM has always been committed to free movement of goods, of capital and of people. And so far it has been on a gradual basis in which skilled persons get a skill certificate and they can go from one territory to the next, one country to the next, and remain and work or live. Of course, Caribbean nationals can move as tourists to visit any CARICOM, and you have a right of 6 months to remain. What we're now going to start working on the instructions of the heads of government is to provide for unlimited free movement of CARICOM nationals among the CARICOM territories. The expectation is that there is a significant amount of legal and administrative work that needs to be done, and it is hoped that by March next year that will be completed, and then after that CARICOM nationals can move as a community, and that applies to those countries that are participating in the single market and economy. So we must remember that free movement in any community, immigration laws remain in place. So even though you have a right, if you have a visa to go to the United States or a country where you don't need a visa, you're still on entry, you're interviewed by an immigration officer. So in the case of free movement of nationals within CARICOM who come to Belize, they will still be interviewed by immigration officers to determine that they satisfy entry requirements. And if it is determined that they do not meet the requirements, they will be refused entry. The treaty provides for that.
Police in the Bahamas have disrupted the illegal drugs trade, seizing cocaine worth just over $10 million recently. Head of the Drug Enforcement Unit, Chief Superintendent Roberto Goodman, revealed a crucial tip led to the discovery on a plane.
520 kilos was found in 18 crocosack bags, and police say the drugs weighed 1,304 pounds. Head of the Drug Enforcement Unit, Chief Superintendent Roberto Goodman, has the details.
When this aircraft would have landed at the airstrip, the officers would have observed two male suspects who would disembark this aircraft and run into nearby bushes. This aircraft would have landed. Officers were able to land a helicopter where they would approach this aircraft, which was still running at the time.
Now, this is the second drug bust on a family island in the last few weeks, the most recent being a $9 million cocaine bust in Long Island. Goodman had this warning to persons involved in smuggling drugs.
We are concerned about drugs being funneled into our southern islands, and I just want to admonish those persons who continue in their enterprises of the drug trafficking organization that we coming at you.
The Guyana Police Force has honored 67 fallen officers who died under violent circumstances in the line of duty from 1913 to 2023. The 184th commemoration exercise to acknowledge the significant sacrifices of the late officers was held at the Monument for the Fallen Heroes. We have a report from Newsroom Guyana.
Policemen and women who lost their lives while executing their duties have not gone unnoticed. On Sunday, in remembrance of their service and dedication, the slain ranks, who were referred to as fallen heroes of the Guyana Police Force, were honored. A wreath-laying ceremony was held at the Monument for Fallen Heroes in the Police Officers' Mess Compound, Evelary, Georgetown, as part of the Guyana Police Force 184th anniversary celebration. It saw Minister of Home Affairs Robertson Ben, Commissioner of Police Acting Clifton Hicken, and other senior members of the force, as well as relatives of the dead cops, laying wreaths at the base of the Fallen Heroes Monument. But before this, a series of other activities were held, such as a 21-gun salute and a moment of silence. In brief remarks, Deputy Commissioner Administration Calvin Brutus said the force will continue to support the families of the ranks who died in the line of duty.
Our heroes span many decades, beginning in 1913 all the way to 2013. And they became heroes at various locations across our country.
Brutus said the rank's contribution to the security landscape of the country is invaluable.
The activities here today serve to show our appreciation to the surviving relatives and family of our highest regard as an organization and as members of the country to these fallen heroes. Without them, our country would not have been stable and secure as it is right now.
In sports, India take on West Indies in the first test match of their tour of the region, and it will be played at Windsor Park in Roseau, Dominica, starting today at 10 a.m. The match is a part of the ICC World Cup Test Championship 21-23, and the pitch at Windsor Park is known to be a good batting surface. CBC's Anne-Marie Burke looks at the two teams' readiness.
You could call it a story of David and Goliath. The only difference is there is no certainty David will slay Goliath. This as the West Indies, ranked 8th in the world, are set to take on the top seeds India in a two-match test series starting tomorrow in Dominica. And while fans are still lamenting over the poor showing of the regional ODI side, the test team will be hoping to change fortunes. But let's be fair, India, who are has been changed up. With players like Mohamed Shami rested, Vice-Captain Ajinkya Rahane says the young bowlers have a lot to bring to the table.
Siraj is there as a senior bowler. Jaydev, who's been really experienced. Other two guys also pretty much experienced. They've been doing really well. So it's an opportunity for everyone to do well. Mohamed Shami obviously is a senior bowler. He did really well for us. But obviously you need to give rest for someone. There's a long season ahead, so great opportunity for guys who will get an opportunity, and I'm sure they'll do well.
Three players will be making their debut: pacer Mukesh Kumar and batsman Yashavi Jaswal and Ruturaj Gaikwad. Rahane especially has confidence in Jaswal.
I'm really happy for him. Really exciting talent. He did really well, as you mentioned, in domestic for Mumbai. Did well in IPL as well. Most importantly, the way he's batting in red ball. He did well in Tulip Trophy last year for Mumbai. Also, he did really well. His records are really good. Again, my message to him will be just to express his batting, the way he's been batting, not to think too much about international cricket and all. It's all about, I think, going out in the middle and playing your game, playing with freedom. That is what important. I'm really happy for him.
The series will be the first for India in the current 2023-25 World Test Championship cycle, and they've spent some time acclimatizing to the Caribbean conditions.
Let's take a look at the weather now. The barometric pressure stands at 1013.4 millibars. It's 28.7 degrees Celsius, already pretty warm outside with humidity at 73%. The wind direction east-southeasterly at 18 kilometers per hour, and it's presently cloudy. Sea conditions as you head on out for your morning dip: smooth to moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1 to 2 meters and increasing. And here's a look at how the tides roll in today. General forecast for Barbados: a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief scattered moderate to light showers. Into the evening period will be much of the same: clear skies and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. And that's it for today's presentation of the Morning Report. Our next newscast is Newsday at 12 noon on TV8, followed by The World at 1 via our radio network of stations, 100.7 FM, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM. Morning Barbados is next.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning and welcome. Good to have you in company on this Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. Another presentation of Morning Barbados. I'm Tisha Hines and I'll be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning. And boy, do we have a show planned for you today. A little bit of fun, some seriousness, some great insight, and of course some inspiration is what you need in the morning. So we're going to make sure that we share that with you. So today we have a few interesting people passing through. we definitely are going to be playing the game The Eyes Have It, where we show you some eyes and you have to guess who the eyes belong to. That's always fun. And then, of course, you get to call in and guess who you think the eyes belong to. Now, the Catherine Marina Paul Women's Cricket Classic is coming up. Rodney Simpson, who's the technical coordinator for that classic, is bringing along Leanne Kirby, the captain of Hibiscus Women's Cricket Club in Trinidad and Tobago. And they're going to tell us all about the classic that is coming up. It's a T20 match. There will also be a T30 and a 40 overs match, you know, so it's going to be an entire series. We'll hear more about that. Plus, something for the little ones this weekend as we look to the summer holidays, the Sunshine Snacks Junior Kadooment. Stacia Bryan, festival events planner for the NCF, will be in to tell us more about the Junior Kadooment coming up. I remember those days. I used to be so excited to go see other younger ones. So this is an opportunity for the little ones to go out and have a good time for the festival. Also during the segment, The Next Chapter, Ron Johnson, you would have seen him on the HR segment. He's now back telling us about his book. Is called Tighten Your Shoelaces, and we are talking is really designed for entrepreneurs, business owners and business decision makers who want to kind of leverage certain principles used in the world's most respected companies to defend how they grow their businesses. So we're going to talk some more about that with Ron Johnson. He's coming through today. And we are also telling you all about human resources management. So we have that wonderful segment that we also always share with you weekly, on a weekly basis. Today we have a beautiful young lady coming through. She's all by herself today, sharing with us. And we are talking about something very interesting, and I'm sure it will be very dear to you as well. She's talking individual and organizational importance of learning and development. So let's say a hearty welcome to Rashida Beckles, human resources professional, corporate trainer, and motivational speaker. Welcome to Morning Barbados, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Tisha. Good morning to all our listeners and to our viewers. And it's a pleasure to have us here, of course, in terms of member and representing the HR Association of Barbados.
It's always great to see you, Rashida. Always radiant. All right, so let's delve into it. What would you say is the core objective of training, also called learning, for a company?
Okay, great. Thank you. When it comes to training and development or learning, it is a continuous process, and persons need to acknowledge and recognize that. And whether that's in individuals, it's employees, it's leaders, we want to acquire knowledge, or we should be also enhancing our skills and improving our attitudes and our behaviors. So if you think about it, in life and also in work, it's really, really essential to identify what our goals are. And I'll throw the question out there in terms of to our viewers and listeners. What are your goals for 2023, whether individual or professional?
What would you say to companies who embark on absolutely no training whatsoever for their employees?
Oftentimes it does show, Tisha, in terms of not having a training plan, not having a dedicated person or team, I would say, to be able to execute training. And it also shows who, when you don't have, I want to say, a budget for training. So anyone who, and training doesn't have to be the traditional way of training. There's so many different ways and methods of executing training, whether on the job or off the job. So to those who don't, it's not as expensive as you think it is. And sometimes you can take it in small chunks in terms of what are your short-term goals and long-term goals. And there are many credible human resources and learning and development professionals out there. Ask a question, reach out to HERMAB to be able to see who might be a fit for your organization, or maybe a collective of persons to be able to execute what it is that you want to do, whether it's soft skills, technical skills, etc. So reach out to HERMAB.
That's pretty interesting, because sometimes people use the terms training and development interchangeably. Would you say there's a difference between the two?
Truthfully, yes. So training more so is a concept of sometimes learning new concepts, I would say, or refreshing and retooling. If you really think about development, whether personally or professionally, it's about an advancement in some form or fashion. It's about progressing. So the person that you are today shouldn't necessarily be the person that you are in a couple of weeks, because you should be continuously developing yourself, so to speak.
And I know that you mentioned that training doesn't necessarily have to be what people traditionally think, as in on the budget or on the books. It can be on the job training, learning of new equipment, and so on. So talk to us about some of the ways, unconventional ways, apart from what we think might be traditional training, that we can truly embark on training a staff.
Certainly. So as I said, training can be on the job, off the job. I talk with my hands sometimes and get more comfortable. And because of this, you have opportunities where training can be, training can be internships. They can be apprenticeships as well. We think about seminars, how many persons actually dedicate time and resources and money to allow their team members to go to seminars. Training can be case studies, Tisha, and to our viewers and listeners. What about role playing? This also is able to, you do situations and scenarios so that then persons can say, okay, well, in this particular situation, how would you act? Or how is the best way that we should handle a particular situation? And to be able to think about mentorship as training. How many persons out there have ever had a mentor or have ever mentored someone else as well? Because we got where we are because of whether learning, training, somebody showing us, or sometimes by, having some gaps in between, and we had to learn by mistake, I'll truthfully say. So most persons would say, training in terms of orientation, and most persons would have orientation in inverted commas, but that may just be a couple hours of telling the person, do this, do that. What about an ongoing process? Let's talk about onboarding. We have different types of compliance training. So does the person know how to use that particular piece of equipment, and to use it effectively is very, very important as well. And what about soft skills, Tisha? We live in a society where we say that our biggest asset is our human resources. We have sectors that are very, very big in Barbados, which range from, let's think about retail and distribution. Whether we go to purchase something, purchase an item, we're always interacting with people. We obviously will focus on tourism, hospitality, etc. But if we are people-centric, and people are our biggest resource, how are we helping to grow persons, develop them, not only for themselves, but also for the companies, so that then think about your competitive set. Who are your competitors, and how do you niche them out a bit to make sure you build loyalty and persons to continuously come back to your organization? So, in terms of training and development, the non-traditional, I've done training sessions in some very interesting settings, and persons are like, training can be fun. HR is not necessarily how you think of traditional HR. And what I'll say before you go on is that, many persons practice human resources management, but it's also human resources development. So it's great to be able to see maybe a chef move from maybe a level 2 to a level 3, or vice versa. So because you start in one particular position, doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay in that position. And hence why I started the conversation this morning. What are your goals? What is it that you want to be able to do and aspire to? And it doesn't always mean that step is going to be in terms of a linear approach. It could also sometimes take a little sideway. In Barbados, you have winding roads, etc. There are potholes, I wouldn't say not. But how do you then, fill those gaps? How do you fill those holes and be able to propel yourself? And also, if you think about it, how are you going to get to be able to aspire to those particular goals, whether in your organization or also individually?
That is very, very important, because these days I know what we had is, a more traditional approach to training, but these days there's a plethora. There's no shortage of information that people can find online. So my question to you is, should companies not be very strict about implementing a structure to the learning? Because as you mentioned, through the onboarding and all of this stuff, it's about making sure that people are not only learning at large, so to speak, but they're learning in line with what is most efficient to get the job done in your sphere.
So again, it goes back to your organization. You have to know your budget. You have to also know what is your strategic plan. Do you have a strategic plan? So is it investing in your line staff? Is it investing in your supervisors? Supervisors are very, very important to organization. And no matter the reason how you got into an organization, if it was by your tenure, if it was by knowing someone, when you get there, show up and do what you have to do. So for organizations, I would say, if you don't have the budget, there are many different online tools, as you were alluding to just now, Tisha, in terms of e-learning. There are many free resources out there. How do you use YouTube? I've seen, of course, the National Transformation Initiative as well, NTI, they've been, around, etc. Exactly. So there are many free courses out there through Google, through Coursera, etc. But I want to say that you should marry that with instructor-led training as well. So not just online, but then have someone to come in and help to reinforce. Implementation is important, but also evaluation. And how do you really know training has taken place if you don't have some of those, I would say, boundaries, and also in terms of being able to gauge, has it taken place? Is it, consciously or unconsciously, have persons been implementing what it is that they have learned?
And I'd like to give a shout out at this time to the unions across Barbados, because I know that's one of the ways they are staying relevant. They often offer training courses to their membership throughout the year. So that's indeed a positive for them as well. Now, let's do a little bit of outing. Based on your experience, do you find that Barbadian businesses are indeed setting up training budgets or training their staff? Are we doing it the way we should?
Truthfully,
here in Barbados?
That's right. I truthfully want to say it's a one-size-fits-all type of response, because there are some companies and establishments that are really seeing the need for training and have identified, as I said, specific training, whether individuals or training departments, or they have created, I would call like a trainee trainer. So it may not be necessarily a designated department, whether in human resources or separate in terms of learning and development or talent development, but they are, I would say, looking at silos of individuals who are great at what they do and identifying them as department trainers. So I would give them credit and give them kudos. They know who they are. There are others who, are not sure about training. There's some persons who they do I would say, tick the box type of approach. So, okay, we know that because in order to keep this particular accreditation or to keep this particular contract, we need to do training. So then that training would happen, in a short space of time, maybe trying to push it into 1 hour or 2. And sometimes, if you think about it, Tisha, we all learn differently. Some of us very much need to see things, others are doers, some need to read, others, in terms of, listening, etc. So when you sometimes cram training like that, do you really think training has taken place? And I would say to those persons who are not necessarily looking at training and development, it shows. So the box ticking would happen, or you would see a situation whereby somebody run to human resources or call the training department, be like, a situation happened with a customer, with a guest, with a supplier, etc. Was this person trained in this particular area? And the person could have been trained, but did you in your particular department do the follow-up? Did you do your assessments? Did you do your reminders, etc., your audits? So training is, as I said, not only continuous, but it also is a team approach, because it can't just be training the human resources department to execute training, but leaders, supervisors all have a part to play when it comes to training and development.
And when we talk about businesses, I mean, if we're honest, it all comes down to the bottom line. People want a return on their investment. So if they're going to invest in training, they want to know that they're getting a return on their investment. So let's talk about how you can ably manage that, one, and truly tell if training is in fact effective.
Okay, great. So again, if we're talking about people as our biggest asset, our biggest human resources, and you hit the nail on the head, people want to see that return on investment. So what is that plan? If you are thinking of how many persons you're going to train, do up a plan. How many persons do you want to train in what particular areas? And what are your gaps? I mentioned the gaps or the potholes earlier. What are your gaps? What are the complaints that are coming in, etc.? Or where is it that you want to? So training doesn't always, I forgot to mention that earlier, it's not always about a problem. So don't always see it as a problem area. But what is it that you do well? And you want to be able to maintain it or to be able to improve and, of course, bring excellence to the table. So in that particular vein, looking at how you're going to be able to marry these things to be able to show that return on investment. So you look at your numbers and see where is it that we are not doing so well at, and how do we really, seek to be able to achieve this. And sometimes it's not going to happen overnight. It will be a continuous process. And hence, when we talk about different types of training, we have to look at implementation, and you also have to look at evaluation. For some people, evaluation will look like a quiz or some type of survey. For others, it is making sure you have those quizzes at different intervals with your team members. It may also look at team building activities. And this is where organizational development comes into play, if you've heard about that. We talk about performance management, but what about performance improvement? So given checks and balances, does your team know how they're performing at different increments or different times throughout the year? Or just at the end you say, okay, well, we did really horribly at this particular thing, so there's going to be a negative effect or impact. So evaluation is important, performance improvement and also development is also critical, and how you look to expand and develop your organization. Hopefully that hit the nail on the head in terms of those questions.
All right, most certainly. So we talked about individual and organizational development and training. And we certainly hope that we've planted a seed, because even though we focused a lot on organizational development and training, I believe the onus is also on all of us to make sure that we continuously develop ourselves. As always, very insightful. I want to thank you, Rashida. Good to see you as always for coming in and sharing with us this morning. So food for thought. Businesses around Barbados definitely have to think about what they're doing a little bit more. All right, thank you so much. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking to Caribbean Home Help, and we have some interesting tools for you to consider for your elderly relatives. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, just about 13 minutes now before 7 o'clock in this particular segment, very near and dear to me. So we'd like to welcome Caribbean Home Help to come on in and share with us. We have Paul Marshall, who is the founder and CEO and really the face of the entire operation. So it's always good to see him. And he's brought along technical consultant Angela Francis. They're all of Caribbean Home Help. Welcome. Good morning. Great to have you. And your conversations with us are always so insightful.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to Barbados. Good morning, Tisha.
All right. So I know that last time you were here, we spent a little time focusing on dementia and the services that you are offering for some of your clients who might be suffering through dementia. And when I say clients, I mean not only the people who are going through it at the time, but their relatives and friends and caregivers as well. Living through it can be quite difficult, because we know from experience that you might go into a space and your caregiver or your child of a parent who is suffering through dementia, and you have to go to work, but you don't necessarily feel comfortable because you don't know what is happening at home, what they're doing. You know, so these tools that you've brought today to showcase give that peace of mind, and that's very important. So I'm going to allow you to set it up, Paul.
Okay, so today we are really focusing on providing a number of tools that would help persons who are suffering with dementia to be able to be independent, because in the early stages of dementia, there are still persons who live alone who will still want to be able to do their cooking, you know, go take a walk and whatnot. And as family members, you don't want to be worrying about if someone takes a walk and then they don't return. Not only is that nerve-wracking, it can be extremely dangerous or life-threatening. So today, we want to start to focus on those tools, because we got a lot of questions from the last show where people called in and they wanted to get more information. So we said, let's do that on this show. And we brought some of the devices so that we can display them.
All right. So let's get those numbers on the phone in the early, because like once we get through this show, that's the #1 call that I get. in the office? What's the phone number? How can I get through to them? And of course, people want to do some investigating. So let's get those numbers on the screen right away. But talk to us about the devices you've brought today.
Yes, I will do that. So in terms of the dementia, we have, if I can just reach for this, we have what we call an eye chat locator. So it does the normal SOS function where you can press the button. But in terms of specifically around the dementia, it's able to do the geofencing, which actually means we're able to set like a perimeter. So if someone's moving towards that perimeter that we've marked, so for example, suppose somebody lives in Porters and you don't want them to be all the way up in Spikestown, you can set a perimeter. Once they reach that, we will automatically receive an alert letting us know that that person is there, and then we can obviously get the help that's needed to return them to home. We're also able through this device to have a two-way conversation if that's possible with
so this device is a device that worn around the
Yeah, you can wear
neck?
it. You can wear it around the neck. You can also wear it as a pouch. We supply a pouch. You can drop it in the pouch. You can wear the pouch on the arm. You can also attach like a key ring and clip it to your trousers.
Okay, so it's a device that you can place on the dementia patient so that you know where they are at all times. I really love that it acts as a two-way radio as well.
Yes, it is. You have the two-way communication through that, and also GPS tracking in real time. So you can actually, you know, in the case of an emergency, see where they're actually.
And that tracking is offered via your mobile device.
Yeah, it's three really. It's your data on your mobile device. It can pick up on the Wi-Fi, and it'll pick up on satellite as well.
I love that, because sometimes, you know, you're thinking, I would like to say something to mom or dad, just, are you okay? And you don't necessarily have to pick up the phone, but you can go to this device, which acts as a two-way radio, and say, how are you doing? Are you okay? I think that's great. Most certainly the features that are being offered. What else do you have for us today?
Okay, in terms of anyone who's still living very independent and out and about, going to church, going shopping, we have what we call our Safety Mate cell phone. So it's not your smartphone. We were asked by clients to source an analog phone to keep it really simple. So it's bigger screen, bigger buttons. As you press the button, it will let you know, so 1, 5, 7, what you've pressed. And importantly, it has the SOS function in the back, and it also has GPS.
Okay, so the SOS function is simply the red button that you can depress, and what happens?
Yeah, what happens, it will come through to our monitoring centre. Again, it opens up an automatic two-way. We can assess the situation and mobilise the help that's needed.
And is this monitoring centre 24 hours
We're 24/7
okay,
every day of the year.
All right.
365.
Talk to me about what happens if you press an SOS, because we know with things like these, sometimes there can be a mistake, there can be an error. So, you know, what comes into play? What's the procedure once the SOS is activated?
Yeah, it really will depend on the individual and the instructions that they've given us at the outset. But I think a typical situation would be, it'll come up on our screen, and I think we may have some screenshots that we can share.
Yes.
Instructions will be there, but if it's an emergency, we will know that from their actual circumstances, what they've shared with us at the beginning, we will go through to the emergency services. If it's non-emergent, we can go through contacts, maybe a daughter, a son, a neighbour, a key holder, and then get the help that's needed that way.
All right, so make contact with someone. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, we're not going to move this one because it's a little bigger.
Yes.
But this device is looking pretty interesting. What is this particular
in terms of the
device?
home monitoring, home and personal monitoring, so that device there, it's what we call the home care unit. It comes with a pendant that's worn on the person, that can be worn around the neck or on the wrist. Okay. And what happens in an emergency, it's the same scenario. You press the button and that will come through to us 24/7.
Okay.
What's important with this as well as the home and around the home, we can add accessories.
Okay,
so
I think I want to grab it.
Yes, by all means.
Go ahead and grab it.
Yes.
Here it is. All right, so this is the pendant. So you can wear it around the neck.
And we can also set it up for like a watch strap. Set it up on a strap to wear on the wrist.
Okay. So what happens? Tell me about this particular device again.
Yes, so the person will wear it in any emergency or crisis. They can simply press the button and that will come through to our monitoring centre in the same way that the other devices do. Also, we have another style of that pendant which also picks up on fall detection.
Okay, so do we use these in tandem with each other? Do they work together or do they work separately?
Separate. So if somebody wants just the home unit, it'll be what you have in your hand and the box as one item.
Okay.
If you've got somebody, so we have clients who, some are still very active, still very mobile, so they want the home monitoring and they also want the on-the-road monitoring. So in the home, you've got this home unit. For on the road, then you've got these mobile devices.
Now you mentioned something very important. You talked about the device picking up on falling.
Yes, fall detection.
Okay.
So how that's working is it's going to pick up on height, impact and angle.
Okay.
So those three things combined will automatically alarm. You don't have to press the button.
Yeah. What I love about that is I have a friend who his elderly mother was here. He obviously was working outside of Barbados, so he would check in often. And he was very nervous about that. And she fell. Sometimes, you know, people fall and they don't feel it the same time or they don't think it's as impactful as it is. She actually called him after she fell, but then she deteriorated very quickly after that. So I think it's very important for something like fall detection. Now we mentioned geofencing earlier. For people who don't understand fully what that means, let's delve into it a little further.
Yes, okay. So we're able to program the device for meters, kilometers. So I gave the example, if you've got somebody who perhaps lives in Porters and, you know, Spikestown is like a boundary, you can set that in terms of distance. So as soon as they get to that boundary, we will automatically receive an alert to say, Mr. Gittins, Mrs. whoever is at that boundary, and therefore we're able to know where they are and mobilise the help.
Yeah, so in lay terms, geofencing is really just the way how you would have a physical fence. It is a geographical fence, a kind of
virtual
digital
fence. Yes,
virtual
fence. Yes.
Yes. Yes. So that is what it is. So
yes.
These days we're moving into virtual reality, even with being able to track where people go. So very important. And finally, smoke detection.
Yes. So with the
very important.
Yes. Sorry to cut you, but with the home unit monitoring unit, we're able to add accessories. So with that, we're able to add the falls detection as opposed to the regular pendant. We're also able to add the smoke fire detection as well. So it will come as part of the package for the home monitoring device.
Paul, together, this is peace of mind.
Yeah.
This is peace of mind. Tell us, what do we need to do to be able to really muscle in on what you're offering here?
Okay, so all of these services are within our in-home concierge service that we launched. And essentially, the in-home concierge service is really to provide the tools that would provide that peace of mind. You can reach us via our website. You can actually click to call from our website. There is a call button there. But our numbers are 629-4251. And what we would do is we'll send one of our registered nurses or our teams or assessors to come to your home, have a discussion, and build a customized plan for you, which could include all of these monitoring services plus care, nursing care, and all the other services like housekeeping and maintenance and transport. So it's really looking at it from a comprehensive, holistic way, as opposed to just saying, this is this one thing that we're fixing.
Absolutely, and we both know that care is a very individual thing.
Yes.
It is a very individual thing, so I am reassured to hear that you're going to send your professionals, first of all, to come out and to assess what's needed, because you might not need the fall detection, you might not need the home monitoring, you might have that in place already, but most certainly these devices that offer peace of mind through geofencing, through two-way communication, through alerts frequently, these are definitely devices that people who are taking care of their elderly relatives really should look into. And I discovered recently that the average age of Barbadians is about 46.7 years old, which means in another 20 years or so, all of us are going to be aged to perfection. So we definitely need to start thinking about the way that we caregive at this time, because a lot of us of my generation are taking care of or preparing to take care of elderly relatives. So these are definitely things we need to look into. Caribbean Home Help is truly the concierge service for the future. So thank you so much, Paul, for coming in, founder and CEO, as well as you, Angela Francis, as we wrap. Final words from you on everything you've shared with us today. I've been trying to get my mother to get a cell phone so long. She has a cell phone, but she hides it in the purse. And if you call her, heaven forbid she's on the bus, she's going to say, I wasn't answering that. It's ringing on the bus. I'm not answering that. So this is a whole lot easier to understand. I know there are some elderly people who are able to navigate the smartphones, but this is a great entryway.
Yes, it was what we were being asked for, so we sourced it and made sure we could supply it. Yes.
All right, thank you both. Now we've had the numbers on the telephone line. Remember, you could call us after as well. It's about Caribbean Home Help, helping you to take care of your elderly relatives and so much more. Give them a call. Check them out online. Do your research, but don't take our word for it. Make sure you make that call. And, at some point in time, we all need a little help. I know culturally we feel like asking for help. It feels like you're not doing your parents justice, but you definitely should call if you need that help. We're going to take a break and come on back with an update of the news. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
3 minutes now after 7 o'clock, time for an update of the news. The Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners is warning the number of COVID-19 cases could be higher than what is reflected on the latest COVID-19 dashboard. The most recent statistics show 377 new cases from 1,248 tests conducted over a 2-week period. 6 people also died during that time. BAMP President Dr. Linda Williams is reinforcing the need for people to recognize that COVID-19 has not left us, and that is being reflected in the number, even if they're lower than expected.
We see the dashboard with a greater number of cases per test, which is the positivity ratio of about 30%. And we know that the actual numbers are likely to be much higher than this because most people will be relying on rapid testing at home at this point in time to determine their COVID status. We're calling for a greater availability of rapid tests because there's a limited amount of public testing available at this point in time. It is important to know your COVID status so that you are not in a situation where you can pass it on to others, particularly those who are vulnerable.
Now, while those people traditionally considered vulnerable include people with comorbidities, the elderly, obese people, and of course those with asthma, Dr. Williams is also warning some people who've been vaccinated against COVID-19.
if you had immunization some time ago, even if you had 2 shots and you had no further boosters, then you also are also vulnerable to contracting COVID-19, and that's because we would not have expected the COVID-19 vaccine to have a duration of effect that would last as long as this. Therefore, in this season, be safe, be your brother's keeper. If you come from a household where lots of people may be affected, isolate yourself if you find out that you have COVID-19. Do not spread it, hand sanitize, wear masks, and do what is necessary to prevent an increase in cases and an uptick during this Cropover and festive season.
The Central Bank of Barbados says to date it hasn't received any fake notes from the 2022 polymer banknote series. In a news release, the CBB says it's aware of images and videos circulating on social media over the past few weeks purporting to show counterfeit polymer Barbadian banknotes. While the bank will not confirm the authenticity of any banknote without first having examined it in person, some of the security features found on genuine Barbadian polymer notes, such as the transparent window, are visible in the images. The central bank says the notes appear to have come into contact with a harsh chemical that removed some of the ink. The banknotes confirm that to date it has received no fake notes from the new polymer banknote again, but they remind the public that the notes are not impossible to counterfeit. It therefore encourages people to continue to check their money using the security features incorporated into them. These include the transparent window near the bottom of the note, an image embedded in the window that catches the light on the lower denominations, the 2, 5, and 10, and changes color on the higher denominations, the 20, 50, and 100 notes. The note's denomination appearing in the patterned broken trident on the top right side of the note when it is held up to light, and a raised shape at the back of the note beneath the large denomination numeral. The shape varies depending on the denomination. The bank also encourages anyone with a note they suspect to be counterfeit to take it to a commercial bank or to the Central Bank of Barbados. And that's the update of news here on Morning Barbados. Remember, a news update comes at 12 noon, or you can tune in via our radio services for the world at 1. Morning Barbados continues after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It would be so much easier to identify them if they did it like they did in the opening. So the face would have it. They would just take out the eyes, but they've done it the other way around because they want to confuse us. But they can't confuse us, so here we go. Today, the eyes have it. Let's see who we're trying to guess. Can you tell who these eyes belong to? Now, here is your clue. She competed in the Richard Stout Teen Talent Contest in 1985 and finished third. Ooh. All right, so that gives us a timeline. Again, she competed in the Richard Stout Teen Talent Contest in 1985, finishing third. Can you tell who these eyes belong to? Whose eyes are these? I'm not absolutely sure. I think I have a clue, but I'm not absolutely sure. So we'll see. Anyway, we're going to take some calls a little bit later. So think about it and get close to your phone lines, because when I say you're calling 228-5562 or 228-5563, but I'll tell you when we'll be taking those calls. We're going to take another break and come back. Stacia Bryan of the NCF, she is getting ready for the Sunshine Snacks Junior Kadooment. We're going to talk more about that after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 7:11. We are in the throes of the Cropover Festival. I was driving up the highway yesterday, late last night, picked up a friend from the airport who was here for the festival, and we passed a big old party going on just off the Norman Niles roundabout. Lots and lots of people. So make sure that you're heading out and enjoying some of these events. Make sure, you know, you take the necessary precautions to keep yourself safe if you're heading out. But it's always great when friends are coming home for the festival. So people are starting to arrive, and there are definitely quite a few events happening. If it's your birthday today, happy birthday. Like my friend, my very dear friend, whom I've learned lots from and continue to learn every single day, Hedy Kleinman. Happy birthday. She turns a big number today. She's not big on numbers and sharing numbers. You know, sometimes for us ladies, we're like that, but she certainly doesn't look her age. So congratulations and happy birthday, and sending loads of love your way. I certainly hope you have the best day ever, and I know she's huge on celebrating. I made sure that I got online and got her something nice. Some people, they like physical gifts. For that particular friend, she loves kind words, so you know, plaques with inspirational messages or anything like that will work for her. But we definitely know our friends, and you know, that is what we need to do to keep them going. Now we also have the holiday coming up. A lot of children are coming out of school from tomorrow. It's the last day. So you want to make sure you're planning ahead for those, for the holiday, for those vacations, camps that are coming up. And there are lots of camps. I think what I'm going to do for you tomorrow is we're going to compile a list of a number of the camps that we know about and share them with you on the What's On, so that you have an idea of where you can send the little ones. Some are free, some you have to pay a nominal fee. Early on, we told you about a language camp that is happening over at the Christchurch Girls' School. We also told you about the Sports Council having their camps. I know there are camps over at the university. There are some schools that have camps, particularly secondary schools. There are some camps at churches, at primary schools. So if you have a camp, go ahead and email us the information and we'll share it in the What's On. We want to make sure that these children have lots to do all this holiday season. The devil finds work for idle hands. That's what we came up hearing. So we want to make sure that we have stuff for the children to do in the holiday. Yes, they need to play and enjoy themselves, but truly in a controlled environment. Okay? So we're going to take a break here as we take care of some technical challenges. And when we come back, hopefully we'll have Stacia Bryan of the NCF ready to go. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, it's 7:15. If you have to get out of the house, it's time to make that move. You don't want to be late, do you? Particularly if you're heading into busy Bridgetown. We know on a day like today, and indeed every day, maybe lighter traffic because the little ones are going to be out of school soon. But it usually is hectic to get into Bridgetown, and there are certain areas that there are bottlenecks. So make sure you factor in the time you need to be able to get there on time. And a lot of people will say if you're on time, you're late. So you should be a few minutes early. Now, Stacy is with us, and she is Festival and Events Coordinator, Festival Events Planner with the National Cultural Foundation. And Stacy, hey, always good to see you.
Hi, good morning. How you doing?
All right, what's up? It's Cropover, and we're in love with the festival and all that's happening. And coming up, we have the Sunshine Snacks Junior Kadooment. Tell us more.
Junior Kadooment, Sunshine Snacks Junior Kadooment is happening this Saturday, July the 15th at the National Botanical Gardens. And we have 25 junior bands to masquerade and parade through the streets, ending in the National Botanical Gardens. And we're going to have the biggest children's party in the National Botanical Gardens this Saturday. So all of you little children who did so well at school, Auntie Stacey has a big party for you on Saturday. So come out and have a great time. And it's free to all Barbadians.
No, I'm sorry that you said children on that, because when you said Auntie Stacey and party, I was ready. That's all you needed to say. Now, I know for the past 3 years, the children really had to trade in their beautiful headpieces and so on for masks. It's not the same. So for the first time this year, since COVID-19, the children are truly playing mass in the way they love.
Of course, and we have to thank our sponsors throughout this process, Sunshine Snacks, because over the last 2 years, they have supported the Cultural Development Department with the Schools Masquerade Project. Last year, we were able to do some small parades through some of the communities, and we kept the children in a bubble and so on. However, this year, we returned to the big national stage. So we must say thank you to our sponsors for always supporting the National Culture Foundation through our cultural development, and now for the big Barbados Cropover Festival.
Now, I know over that period when things were happening, what the NCF was able to do is keep the vibe alive by hosting a number of workshops and so on to ensure that we're passing on what we know culturally, the tangible and intangible parts of our culture. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, so throughout over the last 2 years, we did have these workshops throughout the schools and communities where we were able to transfer some of our artisan skills into the schools through the teachers and the students. We must say thank you to the Ministry of Education for supporting the Intangible Cultural Heritage program. It would have been extended through many of the desks in the Cultural Development Department, theater and dance and so forth. And we also were able to promote the Land Ship in Schools project, and you're going to see a part of that on Saturday at Junior Kadooment. So a chance to let these children bring their imagination to the forefront. They would have worked with some of our best designers, some of them who have continued to come throughout that program, and then subsequently brought private junior and grand Kadooment bands, so we can really see where the work through this program with the wire bending and the design and recyclable materials and all of the things that we use to help the children develop what they see creativity in their mind. It's been a success. So we have at least half of the bands this year are coming out of that program through the schools and the community groups.
Oh, that is excellent. In addition to the vibrant colors and the energetic rhythms that we can expect, I know there are a number of other key features that we can expect as a part of Junior Kadooment this time around as well.
Yes, our sponsor again, Sunshine Snacks, they have a kids zone happening, so you can come and get your face painted. You can taste the Olay chips. We have samples by so many of our sponsors who've come on for the festival. So we're really going to have a festival fair happening in the Botanical Gardens, as well as, we can't just let the children come and party only on the street. So we have our cool down zone or our party zone where they can come and enjoy the music of the festival. And And this year, again, another initiative that was taken where we encouraged the juniors through the Junior Calypso Monarch program to create and write and produce music that is appropriate for children. So we're going to be promoting a lot of that this year. And I also encourage our veteran calypsonians to remember that we have the juniors in the festival, and when you are creating and writing, think about the fact that you have to write age-appropriate music for children, because they do want to have their masquerade time. So it's a lot of that happening. It's really integrated Cultural Development Department. I must say hello, good morning to all of my colleagues in that department. They work tirelessly behind the scenes. A lot of them don't see them. A lot of people don't see them. They see us, the festival team, who come out at Cropover, but a lot of the work happens over many, many months behind the scenes through that department, and we are promoting it this Saturday. Come to the National Botanical Gardens. You have all your sweet treats. You have your jumping tents or your slides. You're going to see masquerade. You're going to see some of our cultural characters, the Landship in Schools project, and 25 big junior bands this Saturday, and it's all free. Tell mommy and daddy you want to come to Junior Kadooment.
Listen, that goes without saying. Now, that Junior Masquerade project, though, and under the auspices of a few other sponsors, is always wonderful to see so many members of corporate Barbados come on board for the festival. That's ensuring that we truly share with the next generation all about masquerade and what Cropover truly is all about.
Yes, so this Saturday, you do also have this Saturday the Junior Monarch program, which is happening at the gymnasium, and that's also free. So this weekend is all about the children in Cropover. So here we go, some of our little ones. And you're going to have so many of them, and 25 bands on Saturday. So come on and support the children, encourage them, to be a part of the festival, and it's all encompassing. It's a family event. So Granny, you can bring your chair and come to the Botanical Gardens too and enjoy the entire day with the children of the festival.
All right, what time do you get started?
We start at 9 o'clock in the morning, so we'll be up and ready. And again, I have to say thank you to all the support services who have come on to ensure that we have a safe and incident-free Cropover festival.
All right, and I know usually you do a stream, so for mummies and daddies who can't get out, and aunties and so on who want to check in and see their little ones crossing the stage. I know that's been a big thing for us for years. You want to sit at home and say, I know that person, or, so I know that you offer stream by your website as well.
I remember being a hearts or something like that, but it was like 10. But it's fun because it's almost like a rite of passage. Everybody remembers when they were in this band for Junior Kadooment. So yeah, we have the individuals, the couples, the kings and queens, and trust me, masquerade at this level, you get to see the creativity really coming out. The children, the teachers, the art teachers, our private band owners, our designers, our wire benders. I mean, when you see Junior Kadooment this year, you're going to really see the work of the National Culture Foundation and the creativity of a lot of designers that we have on the island. So Cropover is in good hands for the next generation.
And speaking of hands, I know that we probably can't see your hands because you're down there somehow typing, because I know you guys never stop, especially when the festival is going. So have a good day, Stacia. I'll see you around.
Thank you so much. Happy Cropover to you.
Happy Cropover. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful Sunshine Snacks Junior Kadooment 2023.
Great.
All right, so Stacia is Festival Events Planner with the National Cultural Foundation. Bring the little ones out. It's an affair for everybody, so they can come out and enjoy a wonderful fair environment with their peers, see the little ones, and it's great that is a part of the schools. They're learning the craft. Here we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're talking cricket, lovely cricket in all of its beautiful iterations. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Minutes after the hour, 26 minutes after the hour, and it's time for us to tell you all about some cricket. You know, cricket is in the air. West Indies are playing India. I don't know, that's making me shift in my seat. Those things make me nervous. You know how we are. We are lovers of cricket. And then, of course, we cuss out the West Indies team when they don't win. So, you know, some games to keep us smiling. The Catherine Marina Paul Women's Classic Cricket, I would imagine it's an entire series that's coming up. And to tell us more about it, we have Rodney Simpson, who's technical coordinator for the Catherine Paul Women's Cricket Classic. And he's brought along a member of the touring Hibiscus Women's Cricket Club from Trinidad and Tobago. Yes? And every time I say Trinidad and Tobago, there used to be an ad that played in Barbados years ago. I don't know if you know, but say, Trinidad and Tobago, when you coming?
No, I never.
So every time I say that, I feel like saying that. Very corny, but I felt like expressing myself. So welcome to Barbados, and welcome to Morning Barbados.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to let you introduce the member for us, Rodney, and also share a little bit more about what's coming up with this tournament.
Hi, good morning. I want to say a special good morning to Barbados. I want to say a special good morning to the CEO of the Hamilton Lashley Foundation, Mr. Hamilton Lashley and his family. I want to say a special welcome to my friend Amory Pereira from Hibiscus Cricket Team from Trinidad. When he was coming in the car, he told me that Barbados had a chance of winning. So, anyhow, on the serious side of it, we have a sponsor now. It's the Pizza Manda Catherine Marina Paul Women's Cricket Classic. And it bowls off today at UWI with a T20. This match starts at 2 o'clock. And then tomorrow at Robert Brown Pavilion is another T20. And that
Where is the Robert Brown Cricket Club?
Map Hill, there by the gas station.
That's right. That one, yeah, at Map Hill. I never knew that.
Yes.
I just called it the Map Hill playing field.
Yeah, it was renamed after Robert Brown. Sally passed away about 10 years or 8 years ago. Yeah, so we will also be playing at T40. It normally says 40 hours, but everything going T, so it's at T40.
T is for Tisha. That's that's it.
So that match we played at Glee Pavilion. I think that pavilion was recently named after George Braffett. So that game will start at 10 a.m. This tournament is played in memory of Marina. I call her Marina because I always call her Marina, but her right name is Catherine Paul. But Marina was her nickname, right? She was a community practitioner. She was also a member of the first Pioneer Women's Cricket team that I actually was the first coach of it. I mean, she was very close. Sadly, she passed away about 2 months ago. So the foundation was putting on this event for her.
In her honor.
In her honor, right?
I love
memory
that.
And Marina. Outside of that, outside the cricket aspect, we also, they would take a break on Saturday. But we also have a karaoke showdown, and Trinidad versus Barbados. It's the title for the tournament, or the motto for the tournament is Callaloo versus Cuckoo. You know, the Cuckoo is Barbados and Callaloo is Trinidad. So we have a big karaoke competition start at 8 o'clock. And they will be singing for the Clash is Clear trophy. You know, Clash is Clear also sadly passed away and was buried sometime this week or last week. And the foundation recognized his work in terms of the work that he's done throughout Barbados, and also he was a close friend of the foundation. Our first women's team, when we were, so to speak, novices, he had a team that Clash is Clear all-girls team. The first team, women's team in Barbados, but it was his team, and he gave us practice matches to get us better when nobody else didn't want to play us, because, we now learning. So we holding that for Clash is Clear, and that start at 8 o'clock, and that will be at 11 Bistro Restaurant, First Avenue, Belleville. So there's a lot of cricket to look forward to. And then on Sunday, the big showdown, a big T6 cricket classic. This is a 6 over, everybody bowl it over. And that will be playing for the Catherine Paul Shield. So we have a couple teams. There's no registration. And any team who want to take part, just bring 6. So the motto is bring 6.
Bring 6.
Bring 6. Bring
I
6.
love it.
Yeah. So
All
and
right.
that start at 10, and that is going to be at Dover playing field.
Anne-Marie Pereira, you had talk in the car. Let's see if you have talk now. Tell me about your love for cricket. What initially piqued it?
Well, firstly, let me say good morning to Barbados.
Good morning.
I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. So basically, for me, I've started playing cricket at a really young age. Hibiscus was actually my first club. This club actually taught me about playing hardball cricket, because usually when you're young, we play wind ball, which is a softer ball. So I just love cricket. I think it's in my blood, yeah.
All right, so talk to me about this particular tournament. How have you been prepping? What do you do off season? Things like that?
Well, the club been training at home. We see that this tournament have a lot of meaning to people here. So it's a privilege for us to be a part of it, and for women in Trinidad to actually come out of our country to play in a tournament.
Have you been to Barbados before? Is this your first trip?
I feel like I live Barbados and I've been here a lot. I just tell people, I say I feel I'm a Bajan as well. Yeah.
She's a national Trinidadian player.
Yeah, so we're not even sure if you're truly playing for the Trini team. I don't know, you just might be a mole.
Yeah.
You know, playing for the Barbados team if you feel so close to the team. But this definitely is a lot of cricket, Rodney.
Yeah, we want the Bajan public to come and support the cricket. I don't want us to support Barbados because I've been so biased. So come and support the cricket. And remember that only one team could win. And, you know, if Barbados win, then it's good. If Trinidad win, all these one Caribbean people. So we're not a loser.
Yeah, and I talked about the various iterations of the game. I know the fewer overs you get, the more exciting the games are, the more excitement you get. So do you have any?
The T6 is very sweet. Really nice. The T6 is
I
really
know
nice.
I've not seen a T6. I know there was a T10 tournament recently at
You got to watch the T6. Everybody ball it over. Even the wicketkeeper. Everybody got the ball over. Real nice.
All right. What about you? You know, which form of the game do you prefer, Anne-Marie?
I would say T20.
You like T20?
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's shorter, and as you said, the shorter, the more excitement, because usually women, we will play T20 or 50 overs.
All right. Do you think women's cricket here in the Caribbean is getting the level of exposure that we're seeing in women's cricket across the world? Because it truly is catapulting.
Oh, well, I would say it's come a long way compared to how it was. There's a lot of development going on in a lot of the regions within the Caribbean. So I would say it is developing, and to see that Barbados is also having something like this. Because we in Trinidad, we always have club games going on, a lot of tournaments for the women, so it's good. So you all are having it, so I guess there's development happening. So.
All right, good stuff. We talked about development earlier, so I guess it all comes full circle. Final word for you, Mr. Simpson, as to why people should come out and be a part of this. I love that it is in honor of and paying tribute to, you know, someone who has fallen, who is very near and dear to the entire concept of women's cricket. So that's a big positive. The Catherine Paul Women's Cricket Classic, that is an entire series over a week. I see something about the T6 being over at Dover with a festival night as well.
Yeah, that start at 10 and go to the night. I take the final to play anyway like 7 or 8. So it's day and night. Yeah.
All right, so some excitement. I most certainly will come out and support where I can. So thank you, Anne-Marie Pereira. Enough talk. She said the Bajans can't win. I'm going to be on the sidelines to say, really? Is that what you thought?
Do you really believe that, though?
All right.
They got a chance? Anne-Marie?
I know we're coming with our best game, though. So.
Well, that's all we ask for, because if you beat somebody who doesn't bring their best game, then it doesn't bring out the best in you.
True.
So you definitely want to compete against the best. And she says, Hibiscus, they're the best. We'll see. All right, so coming up, make sure you check that out. And it gets started tonight, T20.
2 p.m.
Today, 2 o'clock this afternoon at UE.
Yeah.
So go down and check that out, the T20. Anne-Marie's favorite form of the game. We'll see how they fare. Hey, we're going to take another break and come on back. Another game of The Eyes Have It. That is next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.
eyes have it. 24 minutes to go before the 8 o'clock hour. We just have 24 minutes left in today's show. It's time for you to try to identify these eyes. Whose eyes are these? She led a popular band. That's right. So she was a part of a popular band, and she was a vocalist with this band. She was a vocalist with this band. Who do you think it is? Do you know whose eyes these are? Can you tell whose eyes these are? Oh, if you think you can, get close to your phone lines. 228-5562 or 228-5563. I said get close. I'll tell you pretty soon when we will be taking calls. I'm enjoying this game so much, and let me tell you, I don't even know who that is. I absolutely don't. Hey, all right, so we're going to take another break, are we? And come on back as we get ready to talk to Ron Johnson, who is featured today in the next chapter. We are featuring his book. Peter, pass the book. This is what happens on live TV, right? It's called Tighten Your Shoelaces, How the World's Leading Companies Defend and Grow Their Brand During a Crisis, and How You Can Too, by Ron Johnson. And of course, we would have featured him in the Hermad segment. Today, he's back to tell us more about this particular book. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, one of my favorite segments on Morning Barbados, of course, is the next chapter where we feature some books. This one today is being featured, the book by Ron Johnson, Tighten Your Shoelaces, How the World's Leading Companies Defend and Grow Their Brands During a Crisis, and How You Can Too. And if only for the color scheme, it certainly looks like a Bajan book. Let me go right ahead and say good morning to Ron Johnson. Welcome back to Morning Barbados.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, first of all, tell me what inspired you to write the book. Is it, is there a personal story behind it?
Kind of. So basically, my background is marketing and branding, and the motivation for writing a book was that during COVID, so many companies had a hard time just surviving. And I'm a writer by nature. I love writing articles, blog posts, LinkedIn posts, and I decided to write a book about how brands can defend and grow their brands, during a crisis. There's so many different types of books out there on marketing, but my motivation was to put together a book that could help entrepreneurs, CEOs, marketing managers navigate the challenges that come with a crisis, whether that crisis is economic or otherwise.
Now, what are your hopes for readers when they go through the book? What are you hoping that they take away from the main messages that you explore in the book?
Yeah, so what I really hope they take away are the principles that some of these global companies have used to get out of crises. I want them to learn. I want them to apply the principles of the book. I actually had one come back and tell me that she threw the book across the room in anger. And I was horrified. I was like, what's wrong with the book? And she said, nothing. It's just that the book is showing me everything I'm doing wrong with my brand. And the thing is, she'd only reached chapter 4. And she threw the book across the room in frustration because the information was so pertinent. and it was showing her what she was doing right and what she was doing wrong.
Now, I would imagine a big part of a book like this, where you're offering really practical, on-the-job ways that you can make your business better and literally tighten your shoelaces, like you said. You would have had to undertake some measure of, research to figure out, what's happening. You said some of it is based on personal experiences. So talk to us about that.
Right. So what I wanted to do was have the book to be to add value to entrepreneurs and CEOs, but I also want it to be an easy read. So the book follows a mini case study approach, where instead of just talking about principles in a theoretical way, we actually do mini case studies on companies on how they've overcome their challenges. So for instance, we talk about Marvel, comics. Back in the mid-90s, they were on the verge of bankruptcy, and they recreated themselves into Marvel Studios, which is highly profitable. We talk about companies like BlackBerry. BlackBerry is the first acknowledged smartphone, but it was crowded out of the market by things like iPhone and Android. What a lot of people don't know is that BlackBerry brand still exists as a cybersecurity firm, because they realize that people are buying their products, BlackBerries, primarily for the security features. So we give a lot of examples in the book that are very easy to follow, from Marvel, BlackBerry, Lego, Burberry. So once people read the book and they see exactly how these global brands have escaped their own crises, it's going to be very easy for them to apply those principles to their own business.
And I know traditional teaching at university, they do that a lot, where you have a lot of case studies. You study a lot of companies and what they've done, look at best practices and see how they can be adapted in your own businesses. Now, can you share any anecdotes or behind the scenes interesting stories that happened while you were writing the book? Because I know once you get into writing, then of course there are things that happen that say, oh, this is not what I thought. So share some of the behind the scenes with us.
Well, in terms of the behind the scenes, a big part of completing a book is the editing process. And, after sometimes we review our work and we see what we want to see, because it's kind of in our head. But behind the scenes, it has to go through multiple iterations of editing. And I have a co-founder and a sister who has eyes like a hawk. So every time she reads something, she's like, this isn't clear. We need to re-edit this. So behind the scenes, I would say the last 20% of writing a book is more difficult than the first 80%. The first 80% is mostly writing. The last 20% is about editing, making sure the book is in a good format, indexing, etc. So we had some long and lengthy discussions behind the scenes about what content we're going to put in and how do we edit this in a way that makes it easy for people to read and understand and learn from and apply the principles to.
What I also love, Ron, is as you get into the book, each chapter kind of summarizes exactly what it is about in a name. So I know a lot of thought had to go into that. So for example, chapter 1 is adapt or die. Exclamation point. You have sharpen your axe, start with the end in mind, look for the signs, grow your brand from inside, not outside, build your village, invite your customers to your community. We're down to chapter 7 and there are 16 chapters. Chapter 16 ends with watch your step. So in even coming up with the titles for these various chapters, I would imagine that you wanted to summarize in a title exactly what they were getting in these chapters. So let's hear about how writing this book has influenced you personally.
Yeah, so first of all, writing a book and putting it together, those chapters that you mentioned, it was kind of like having a great big jigsaw puzzle and having to put those pieces together in a coherent way. The impact on me personally is that I think I'm a lot more empathetic towards business leaders. I think you have to give credit to not just the CEOs of large in Barbados and across the globe, but in terms of small businesses who have to navigate the trials of things like the economy, things like managing people, it has had an impact on me personally in terms of my brand position. So most people right now write books for credibility. So a lot of the impact on me has been, making me a more credible person when it comes to delivering public speeches, workshops, etc. But definitely it's made me more empathetic towards business leaders.
And I recognize that in much of the book, you align marketing with human resources, which is a concept that I really only explored in talking with you when we had the conversation a little earlier with the president, the head of HERMAB. But in chapter 14, yes, I believe, you talk about kind of repositioning your organization to align HR and marketing. Talk to me about revolutionary themes like that.
Okay, so over the last few decades, the prevailing thought was that brands were built from the outside. Things like marketing, advertising, social media campaigns, packaging, anything that deals with customer experience and the customer's vision of the brand. The prevailing thought now is that brands are built from the inside, not the outside, meaning that even if you have great external marketing and your company culture is not where it's supposed to be, it's toxic, you still have a really poor brand. So over the last 20 years or so, being in the industry, we started to suggest gently to customers that HR be in the room while we're having conversations about their brand. It's moved from gently suggesting to almost requiring. So we developed our own branding framework. So it's a proprietary framework for branding. You want to know what it's called?
No.
Right, I'll tell you what it's called. It's called branding, but we spell it BHRANDING. So when we spell it BHRANDING, it basically lets people understand it's symbolic of HR being embedded into branding. And if you take a look at the market leading companies right now across the globe, a lot of them are basically tearing down the silos between branding and HR. We've come across examples where brand and HR professionals are in one unit. We've come across examples even here in Barbados where marketing and HR routinely have meetings to make sure that they're both on the same page and they're both reading from the same playbook. So what we can expect to see in the future is that branding, conventional branding, is going to rely more and more, and they're going to be collaborating more and more with HR professionals.
Talking about referencing from the same playbook, I think this theme continues through chapter 16, where you kind of delve into exactly where people are right now, dealing with crisis and not necessarily being reactive, but recognizing the importance of bringing your employees along. Because if you have a stressed staff, if you have a stressed workforce, then you truly will see it in your bottom line. And you really have to include HR in your branding and everything else to be able to truly recognize the potential of your company.
Oh, for sure, for sure. If you are currently running a business and you don't have HR resources, I would suggest that you find a good HR professional. Not just the professionals that are administrative in nature, but ones that are transformative in nature. And by transformative in nature, I'm talking about making sure that the culture is good, making sure employees are engaged, making sure the employee experience is where it needs to be. So yes, what we say at Blueprint is that, it takes a village to raise a brand, and that comes from the Caribbean saying, it takes a village to raise a child. So if your marketing department or your marketing agency is the only one that is involved in building your brand, you're in serious trouble. HR has to be involved. And we also recommend to our clients that when they're building their brand village, they actually invite their employees to be part of the village. There's a great story about Whole Foods when they first started their company there, before they were bought by Amazon for billions of dollars. A flood, I think they were in Texas, completely knocked out the store. Mud, muck everywhere. And the CEO and the employees were trying to save the company by scraping out the muck and the mud. And a local journalist came and asked one of the people who was there about them helping to get the company back on track. And it turned out that one of those people was a customer, not an employee. And when the journalist asked, why are you here with the CEO and the employees helping to save this company? The customer said, I don't want to live in a town where there's no Whole Foods. I think that's a powerful testament towards a company like Whole Foods that has a strong brand village that includes not just its employees, but customers.
That's a fantastic story. I've always loved being able to kind of hear all of these stories of businesses. In my day, when I went to university, there were quite a few buzz places, 3M and Coca-Cola and those places. Those were the examples used. But in your books, you use so many different examples. And finally, chapter 13 talks about repurpose, reinvent, and re-engineer. And I immediately think of you and what you talk about yourself, having started a degree in biology, an undergrad degree in biology. And just before you graduate, you say, hey, this is not something that I truly want to do. And then you go and enroll in an MBA program. That most certainly has had to influence this book and your output generally.
Oh, for sure. So basically, first of all, I remember probably 1% of what I studied in biology, but I do remember the theory of natural selection. So interestingly for me, I did the sciences, and when you're doing sciences, there's empirically one answer you're going after. I did a minor in behavioral science, which has a totally different outlook from the sciences, and then did an MBA. So when I'm trying to solve a challenge, I look at it not just from one perspective, but from several different perspectives. So yes, the academics has had an influence on the way I think, but it doesn't overshadow the practical. I see a picture here of my book and Taurus Hammer. But it doesn't. The academics doesn't overshadow the practical experience that I've had.
All right, so Ron, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us. And you made sure that I had the book in the early so that I could go through it. It truly is a quick and very interesting read. And even though it's geared toward companies, there are a lot of principles that you can apply to your personal life as well. I truly appreciate that. Sure. So congratulations on the book. And we most certainly look forward to hearing more about branding, BHRANDING, branding, HR in the branding. Blueprint Creative is your brainchild, along with a few others, so congrats on that as well. Thanks for sharing with us, and do come on back.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And you make sure you pick up the book. It's a great read, absolutely, especially for small businesses. It will give you some wonderful ideas and insight into how you can make things better. We're going to take a break. It's heading up to just about 7 minutes before 8 o'clock. The Eyes Have It. That's coming up next. I have one more clue, and then we're taking calls. All right, so the Eyes Have It. This is your chance. You're calling 228-5562 or 228-5563. For those of you who are just tuning in, or if you just woke up, welcome. It's a new day. It's Wednesday, July 12th, and we're playing the Eyes Have It. So we show you some eyes, and you have to guess whose eyes they are. Who is this? Can you tell whose eyes these are? Call me up and let me know if you know whose eyes these are. Now, this person was born in England and then immigrated to Barbados many, many years ago. Do you think you know who it is? Whose eyes are these eyes? 228-5562 or 228-5563. There's somebody on the line. Good morning. Who's calling me?
Good morning, Kevin from St. George.
No, I cannot hear the caller.
Good morning, Dick Kevin from St. George.
You're going to have to tell me your name. Is the caller there, Peter?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I cannot hear the caller, guys. So you're going to have to guide me through this. What's your name and where are you calling me from?
My name is
Kevin from St. Peter. All right, Kevin, do you know whose eyes these are?
Yes, please. Kimberly Ennis.
Who?
Kimberly Ennis.
That's not Kimberly Ennis, no. I don't think Kimberly was born in England either. All right, another caller's on the line. Yes. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Barbados.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell me where you're calling me from and give me your name.
My name is Celia and I'm calling from Christchurch.
All right, again, guys, you have to help me out. Cindy from Christchurch?
Yes, please.
I think we talked already. All right, Cindy, do you know who this is?
Yes, please.
Who is it?
Allison Hines.
It is Allison Hines. Look at those eyes. The eyes have it. Absolutely. All right, so congratulations, Cindy from Christchurch. It sounds like you have to get ready to head off to school. But thank you guys for playing. And, that helps to get the brain moving. You're thinking about it a little bit as you get ready for your day. Hey, we're going to take another break and come back and wrap up today's presentation. Don't you go anywhere.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So thank you so much for sharing the last couple hours with us. I most certainly had a good time. Remember, on Friday, we are bringing you live coverage of the funeral of the late Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford. So make sure you tune in from 10:30 right here on CBC TV8. It's also going to be on a number of streaming platforms, but we're bringing you coverage live. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. Coming up tomorrow on Morning Barbados, we meet the juniors in the Junior Monarch competition as well. So come on back for that. Remember to wear your smiles as you go through your day, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day on behalf of the crew. Bye-bye.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.